With Mark Bolender, Bolender Park, and Mark took on Dakota, Dakota Demon.
Dakota Demon.
For the 100-day challenge for the thoroughbreds. It has been a pleasure to deal with Mark and watch the progress of Dakota. But also I think the major thing that I want to accomplish today is what you worked through, so people that have been watching this on the LMF Facebook page can go back and look at this as, what do I do if I'm going to take on a horse in this caliber somewhere down the line. I've been very impressed with how Dakota has taken to you and how she has progressed and her weight gain and everything else. So just kind of start, Mark, what did you think when you first got her off the trailer coming in here?
Well, it was a little bit, before we even got her on the trailer, we showed up at Emerald Downs there in Auburn, met the Wilmart family and met Dakota. She was obviously a happy horse there at the track, but when we got a halter on her and we led her out to the trailer, I don't think her feet touched the ground. She did that beautiful little sideways prance, and Lee, and my first impression was, oh my goodness, what have we got ourselves into? And my first impression was having go forward is not going to be a problem. Fast, yes. You know, and on the racetrack, you don't want a big, heavy, bulky horse. You want something that can run. And so, yes, we can see right away that for what we do, we're going to need to add some weight, and a lot of weight.
So her condition was down at that time. Mm-hmm. You got here. How did she react to coming into a new facility? Was she apprehensive about it, or was she all up in ears and looking around? And
no, Dakota came off the trailer and was greeted by everyone here. We immediately put her to work, took her out here in the trail course, and she took to it right away. She took in her surroundings very well. She's a very bold, confident horse. And from talking with the Wilmot family, at 3 years old, when she was in a herd, she was an alpha mare. And the alpha mares are my favorite to train. They're the smartest, and little Dakota is a very intelligent horse. And most of the thoroughbreds are actually a fairly bold horse. They're comfortable with their surroundings. They're raised with horses, but she took it all in stride. I was extremely pleased.
I noticed watching the first video you had of her, I was quite impressed with her kind of willingness, but also her inquisitiveness, checking everything out before she would do anything for you.
Yes, what you didn't see on the video is before she ever came out to the trail course, we have some exercises that we play with them, and we get in their minds. And we trigger a few instinctual responses, and some of those are to trust us, to look toward us, but then begin to look toward themselves and use their own instincts. And instinct isn't right or wrong, good or bad, it just is. But it's a different type of intelligence than what you and I have, and it's one that we can't even explain, nor can we duplicate, but we can't deny. And so I'm a firm believer that if we trigger those instincts in these horses, they will begin to naturally hunt the trail, pick their way through the obstacles, as you saw in the video. And they will begin to grow and build that boldness and the confidence which we so badly need and desire for a horse in this discipline. Okay, Dakota. We start all of our training in hand, so they don't have to concentrate about a human tightening up on their back. And then we ride. Little Dakota's been here now for about, I think, 85 days. And she decided to get an abscess, so she's a little tender on that back foot right now. We're just looking for them to think their way through, up and over, nice and square, nice and centered. Nothing forced, just find your way. Good girl. By nature, they're curious and they want to put their head down, inspect where they're going. It's called hunt the trail. Good girl.
What goals were you able to set immediately Did you have something in mind that you looked and said, okay, here's kind of the end result we want to get to, or is that something that just came down the line?
Well, we always start out, we're going to get the horse to feel us and to trust us, and then begin to trust themselves. So our first goal was just get her settled in the obstacles. Get her settled in, walking through the rocks, walking down the big step downs, the face, the wall, each about a 10-foot drop. We needed them to be able to walk up and down without rushing or running. We needed them to be comfortable on the swinging bridge and on the balance beams. So we had to allow them to find their own way. And that is what we did, and so that's a goal for all the horses that come in for training. She excelled. She's actually one of the smartest horses I've worked with, and we have worked with several that are just geniuses, and some horses are dumber than stumps, and some are very, very intelligent, and they're all between. That's just the way it is. It doesn't make it right or wrong, but she was a very bright 3-year-old. She was a joy to work with, is a joy to work with.
Anything you were able to identify, this needs to be worked on immediately, this I can wait on, or we'll pick it up later on?
I knew from all my research and from teaching the clinics that I didn't really want to try to contain her energy. If you try to contain it, it will blow. So we had to find a way to redirect it. And when we began to ride her, my first impression that go forward would not be a problem, it was very accurate because I have lots of go forward in Dakota. So in order not to try to get into a tug of war, and that is the last thing you want to do with one of these thoroughbreds, sure, because then they're going to take off. They're trained to take off. They're trained, they're bred for it, their heart's in it. So how do you work around that? So what we do some trail obstacles. And then we'd ride a little bit at a walk and a trot. And my first lope on her was quite fun. She has plenty of speed, but she's like riding a feather. She's a beautiful mover, and she glides. She barely touches the ground, and you can hardly hear her. However, she doesn't know how to move the shoulders or hind, so we have done very little loping with her. Mostly just moving the haunches, moving the fore, try to get a little bit of lateral work done, and get her soft to the point where it's her idea to just relax and realize that she has another option. But she has to be comfortable in the lope. And I know on September 19th, I'll never forget that day, she finally said, loping slow that's not a bad option. And I was actually able to lope a 10-meter circle for the first time with a little bit of dignity of control. And so that was fun. So on her, the issues that we address riding and the issues that we address in the trail course, of which she had no association ever for. So I could trigger the natural instincts to pick her way through and do what a horse should do in the wild. Yet her instincts in the arena with a person on her back was, okay, now we go. And I didn't want her to just go, so anytime I'm out here in the trail course, it's a whole different ball game. Even trotting and loping through the water, she's comfortable because she hasn't ever done that before. Every once in a while she looks at me, looks at the obstacle and said, no one's cleaned up this track for a while. But she's a very bright horse. But that's been my biggest challenge, to try to redirect that energy till she is comfortable at the lope instead of just running away with it. And so once we got her comfortable, we introduced her to some poles and to some small cavalettes, about 18 inches, and it was just, I can do this, no problem. Come down to a walk, and she's very comfortable with them at this point.
So you were able to control the energy how? How did you manage to control that energy?
We controlled it in the mind,
okay,
not the physical. The physical, they are bred to run. So you're going to have to find a way to have slow and relaxed become their idea. You cannot force relaxed into a horse. It's like trying to beat happiness into a human. It just doesn't work. But when they're comfortable on loping a respectable 10-meter circle, we're happy with that. But you have to remember, this is not a Western pleasure horse. Never will be. She wasn't bred to do. That's acceptable. We don't think that we have a right to change a horse's personality. They are what they are.
So your progression on her basically through the trail course area was much quicker than it was in the arena.
Much quicker, yes. We still have a lot of arena work to do. And that goes back to a lot of our conversations with you also on the feeds. You know, at times we were getting her pretty hot, trying to get the extra weight on her. And so we had to cut back and temper off a little bit. And obviously your program for the horses, where you have a specialty with the race horses, the pleasure horses, the mature horses. Obviously, from talking to you with your knowledge about feeds, you need some energy that really dumps fast on those race horses on the last stretch from the hind gut. Well, guess what? I really don't need that. I need a release of energy that's slow so this horse can go out in the mountains and do 10 to 20 miles per day on rugged territory. If they're out here in training, and I think that caught us both by surprise too, on the amount of feed that we were feeding and not getting the weight gain that we expected. And then after you took a look at what we're doing, they're burning a lot more calories than what we thought on the work that they're doing here, even though most of it is just at a walk and a trot here in the trail course. But when they start hopping up and down the wall in the face, which as I said earlier, about 10 feet, it's a lot of work for them.
You know, I was kind of struck at the beginning what a challenge was going to be on the feed end, because I knew with a 100-day time frame in there, we had to get some weight on. So we started with the prime time for that purpose, and more in the fact that let's get some weight on, and it may not be as controllable during that time frame, but we had to get the weight. Then we made the change to the gold, which was still going to produce weight, but give you more long-term energy while you were working the horse, and give you more time to work the horse. And then finally, after I was here that one weekend and watched her, realized it's quickly evident to me that we needed some more mind control. So that's why I suggested we go to the gentle balance.
Yeah.
With the whole goal on that one is attitude, but also produce focus and concentration. As we made those steps, what did you see the changes that occurred, and how did you view that?
It took a little over a week, and then it really kicked in dramatic. For the first time, we had a little bit of a slow go. Yes, it probably was accumulation of the training and the quietness that we had, but it was very evident very quickly after about a week and a half that, okay, now we're a lot more relaxed. We weren't near as hot. Definitely made a difference. And we have to realize too, we have a horse that's growing. She's growing, a 3-year-old. She is really starting to put on some body, more height. And so we can't be too surprised that we're not getting all the weight that we want. As long as I have the mind, I can live with many other things.
When we started, we did hay tests and with the equibalance analysis and so on. Was that beneficial for you?
Oh yeah, often what we feed is just a crapshoot because we really don't know what we're feeding until we test. So I'm a real firm believer in getting your hay tested, especially if we're feeding local hay from Western Washington, which is often very different than hay from east the mountains here in the Pacific Northwest in Washington State.
For those watching, basically what we're looking at with the local grass hays, we're not typically going to get the calories and possibly not the quality of protein and so on. So you add some alfalfa in on top of that, basically, to pick the protein up, pick some of the calories up so we can do it from the hay rather than pour more grain in, and better control on your end because of the hays being the natural part of the diet and so on. Did you have any setbacks during that time frame, any place in there where you go, whoops, I need to step back and redo something again?
We had a couple changes that we had to make when we called you and you came down. When we cut back on some of the grain, you know, we're getting a little loose on the manure and whatnot, and we could tell that, okay, we're a little bit out of balance here and there, and how much alfalfa pellets do we add with the beet pulp and LMF, and what are we doing exactly? So when we got the ratio down, we altered it a couple times.
Sure.
And then you have to remember, after we got most of the groundwork done and we started riding her a little heavier, we had to change again a little bit based upon what she was doing. But we're very happy on how it's come out. We're very happy with the mind that we have. It's just been a fun program.
Well, it's been fun for me to watch these changes. It's been great. As you self-evaluate, do you feel like you got as far as you wanted to get in that 100-day time frame?
You never get as far as you want in a trainer. And I wanted to be doing beautiful half passes, you know. I wanted to see her jumping 3 feet. I wanted it all. Let's face it, we are human. But I have enough wisdom to know that you have to listen to the horse, and if you listen, they will speak. And often when you go slow, you end up with a beautiful mind. And 100 days is just a start. I look at some of the horses that I have that do just amazing things. It did not happen in 100 days. Dakota has one of the nicest minds I've ever worked with. And so I think over time, not only is she going to be soft and willing, she is a pleaser, she likes the job, she likes people, she's got a great work ethic. Over time, I can only imagine what she's going to do. I think she's going to go in any direction. And I think with proper training and input, these off the racetrack thoroughbreds are a great investment. Yes, you will have to put a little more work into figuring out what will it take. They're a smart horse. They're a bold horse. They have some expectations from us to learn also. I would do it again. I would do it again. I really feel that we have an obligation to do what we can to find a home for these off the racetracks. Only 3 to 4% of them make it. And what do we do with the rest of them? We can't just breed it and throw away. If a person has time to put into them and they have the passion, you can make a fantastic horse out of these thoroughbreds. And they're elegant animals.
Well, you put a lot of time in Dakota.
Yes, we put some time in Dakota, and we should. We should.
If you had 6 months, you would have changed what you did.
I would have slowed down a little bit on some of the arena work, trail work here. I would not have changed anything. I'm very, very happy with where she's at in 100 days here. A 6-month program, I'd take her down to the Nationals at the National Mountain Trail. There's no doubt about that. She was demonstrated, I think, at 3 of the trail shows here on Bolender Horse Park, and she took it all in stride with all the people and all the commotion. And when you get that many horses together, you have a lot of energy. And a lot of these young horses, you know, they really start to come unglued a little bit and start to dance a little bit because I'm back at the racetrack. She was very comfortable. It's going to be interesting when we go up on October 5th. And now suddenly it's a different environment, and we haven't really had time to haul her out. So it's going to be interesting if she thinks, am I back at Emerald Downs?
There's kind of a racetrack folder in that brain that they can tend to jump back into.
But you know what? We cannot expect these horses trained and bred and fed to be a racehorse suddenly turn off a switch. We're doing our best to let them find a new option in a new life. But we can't get too upset when certain triggers come out. That's natural. How we deal with it shows really what we are. It will be, I'm not going to be too worried about it. Usually if you don't worry about it, it doesn't become a problem.
So you were able to actually, through the trail side, create enough of a distraction because it was new to her so that you could move gently back into the arena work.
Where she has a keen mind and where I so believe in that instinct of the horse being able to do a better job moving their feet than I can move it. When you throw her in our rock obstacle or the log obstacle or the scrambles, you know what? She's got to think her way through because there's no running through that.
No.
And you're going to fall on your nose. And with her mind, and a couple times she got a little bit rushy and she figured out real fast, this just doesn't pay. But you're not the one saying it doesn't pay. It's her own mind saying, Dakota, we're in trouble. Think it through. And if you, as a human, step back and treat them with enough dignity and honor and said, you're allowed to think it through, the horse will back up and they will think it through.
Well, Mark, it's been a pleasure to partner with you. It made my summer, basically, to watch these horses transform from a run fast, go left into a horse that's versatile in so many other areas. I think Dakota, no matter where she goes from here, discipline-wise, she can learn it. She can pick it up.
I watch the videos of the other trainers, and they're doing just a fantastic job. But I have an advantage for the simple reason she has no association with this at all. And everything everyone else is doing is a go forward type of activity. Exactly. And so they all have to deal with that containing, trying to control or whatever, all that energy. And I haven't had the problem. Until I get on the saddle in the arena, then I still battle a little their demons that they do, hence Dakota Demon. Still battle a few of those things, but I have an advantage where I can block a lot of that. And kick her natural instinct. So it's been a little fun.
Yeah.
It's been a lot of fun.
Well, thanks, Mark.
Thank you.
It's been a lot of fun for me.
Yes, thank you, thank you. It's been great for us.
Good.
Thank you.